How's it going, everybody? So in this video, we're going to be talking about some of the revelations and things that I've kind of discovered recently, and really over my years of being a fitness and health and nutrition professional, but also someone who's on his own journey of self-improvement, self-development, and achieving self-actualization and fulfillment in all areas of life. We're going to be discussing mostly motivation and what drives people, what compels people to action, and what actually makes people want to achieve their goals, okay? So it's really, really interesting, actually. I think this is beneficial for anyone and everyone who's actually trying to, improve any area of their life or reach any real tangible goal, to understand the underlying motivations that actually compel you to action, or the lack thereof, right? The lack of motivation as well. What was driving that, right? So, for over a decade now, I have been striving to find the most scientifically accurate information and the most effective methods of achieving results, right? Whether that's resolving certain diseases or optimizing energy or improving sports performance, literally all of these things, right? Because these are all goals that I had at some point in time. And when I first started all of this, as y'all may know, most of y'all know, I was very motivated to resolve disease states that I had at a certain time, right? I used to have extreme intestinal disease when I first started, severe intestinal disease, as well as psoriasis, which is a pretty hardcore skin condition. And it really took me maybe 3 years to completely resolve that. I also had extreme panic disorder during that time, and took me about 3 years or so to find the root cause and completely resolve that as well. So it took me about 3 years of vigorous research and trial and error to solve panic disorder, the extreme skin condition, as well as intestinal disease. And obviously that takes some people deal with it their entire life and don't find answers. But I found it in 3 years because I was really, really driven to figure out those results, right? Now, for a lot of people, the suffering of the problem they're dealing with, it hurts worse than the effort required to change, right? Because on one level, people are motivated by pain. People are motivated by suffering, and it's a pain versus pleasure dynamic. That's very real, where the pain of dealing with being overweight, or the pain of some of my clients literally come to me because they're tired of what they perceive as their weak mentality, is what they've told me. They told me that they're tired of feeling weak and undisciplined, and they need somebody to reinstate their strong mentality. Let's just put it that way. It's what they've told me, right? So they just feel like they're mentally weak and they're tired of it. They're sick of it, or they're just sick of being overweight and out of shape and stuff like that. And so the pain is more severe than the effort required to change, right? And in regards to diseases, like I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard this before, many people don't change until it's too late, right? Like their doctors oftentimes will tell them, hey, you've got diabetes, and if you don't start changing your nutrition and exercise, and start really changing your lifestyle and living a more healthy lifestyle and doing targeted nutrition programs, like maybe a controlled carbohydrate approach, then you will have full-blown diabetes and it may very well kill you, right? Most people, they start to make changes, maybe little changes at first, but they start to trend in a better direction when their doctors scare them with that type of reality and truths, right? But other times, people continue to just do the same things that got them to that disease state and expect a different result until eventually they have a very real and severe health condition that completely blindsides them, and suddenly they almost die. Right? I've had a very high-ranking PhD in psychology tell me something to this degree that happened with them. Um, and even them, right? A PhD in psychology, been in practice for over 30 years, didn't change until eventually that happened. And then by that time, it's like, damn, I might be too late, right? Anyway, point there is can be a very real motivator. But for some people, even pain, some people it's the reverse. Some people, when they have a very, like they hit rock bottom or they almost die or whatever, even that pain itself, sometimes it does the opposite and it makes them feel hopeless, makes them feel like there's nothing they can do to change. And then they're even worse off and they just go even deeper and deeper in a downward spiral. A lot of people have that defeatist mentality where they're like, well, it doesn't matter what I do because every time I start to make good progress, something bad always happens, right? And in that case, the only thing that can really help them, at least in my opinion, is a shift in their affirmations and affirmative thoughts and thought patterns, and as well as their energy. But that is not an easy thing to kind of go about, and it's not as easy as just thinking positive, bro, right? But in reality, that is what's going to have to change somehow. But that actually leads us to the next point, is that inspiration is actually a primary driver towards a lot of change for a lot of people. People who are not outcome compelled to action through the outcome itself. Inspiration is key. And I think a lot of people who believe that they are just goal-oriented might actually also be compelled to action through inspiration. It's just that they don't recognize it consciously, right? But subconsciously, there might have been something very positive that had inspired them towards a certain outcome, and then they just start to take action towards, because they're compelled to reach that end goal. And so it may appear that they're outcome oriented, outcome motivated, or the goal itself is what they are motivated to achieve, and it's pure discipline, right? Like David Goggins or something, right? Stay hard, play through the pain, or some weird nonsense. But at some level, inspiration does play a very big role, right? And there's competing theories on motivation. Like one kind of theory is people are positive, like motivated by positive things and inspiration, stuff like that, and other people are motivated by negativity and this and that. To be honest, I think most people, it just depends on what it is and where they're at in their life and their history of different achievements and things. People who have not achieved anything significant much at all outside of what they've kind of automatically acquired in their life through schooling and what their parents told them to do and stuff, a lot of times, like anything can or cannot motivate them. It's just it's just whatever they can kind of use to get them going, right? Some people are motivated by spite, right? And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, competition is actually very beneficial. Competing with other people can actually be a very good thing that you could leverage to make you better off. There's, in my opinion, a very toxic paradigm or narrative going around that comparing yourself to other people is bad. Like the only person you need to compete with is yourself. That's not good to think that way. The only reason why someone would want to buy into that idea that, I stay off social media because I don't want to compare myself to other people and this and that. And I mean, there's truth to that to some degree, but a lot of it has to do with your own insecurities. And it's because you have negative vibes from the comparison. But just as much, you can actually use that to compel yourself to change. And I can tell you, I mean, obviously in competitive athletics, right, what drives some people to be the very best in the world is saying, hey, I'm going to prove to myself that I am better than this other person. And while there's a negative connotation with ego and all this stuff, the fact of the matter is the human condition, whether you want to accept it or not, a lot of people are in denial over this fact, but humans naturally are always judging, because it's a survival mechanism. You can't stop judging other people. Are always comparing, because relativity. Never heard of Einstein's theory of relativity? We only know what is true based on how we relate it to other things in the world, okay? You don't know the number 5 without 1, okay? Yeah, so anyway, competition, spite, these things can motivate people. Pain can motivate people. But the biggest revelation I've had actually is outcome orientation, outcome motivation, okay? And then also the pain and pleasure dynamic motivation. Because a lot of people are just coasting and riding this kind of wave of complacency because they just want to just chill and not use any conscious effort, and the most comfortable kind of path, right, without taking much action, this and that, which generally tends to actually result in a lot of depression and other things. A lot of people assume depression's causing complacency, but I think that it's actually depression causes complacency, and complacency feeds into more depression, and it's like this self-filling cycle, right? But the other thing is inspiration, and I think a lot of times when people are stuck in a rut, or people are stuck in that complacency thing where they're just kind of like coasting and just doing whatever, and it's kind of like they may not be depressed or negative or feeling low vibes, but they're also not feeling very much stimulation or excitement in life either. They're kind of just riding this neutral vibe of boredom, right? And they may sign up for dance class or martial arts class, or sign up for strength training coaching or weight loss coaching or whatever, but they're not really that compelled to actually do much with it, right? And they have trouble staying consistent. And this is very normal, right? And no judgment whatsoever towards these people in that regard, as in no, whatever. But something that I've realized lately that I'd lost track of for a while, and people who really, really know me, or people who I've helped them reach their goals might find this hard to believe. Most people say I'm a natural motivator, right? I hear that all the time, but for some reason it never really hit me like it hits me now, is that a lot of people, especially those in that boredom complacency wave, right, where they're just kind of like not really in a negative place, but not really so excited either, right? And just in general, it's a matter of inspiration. It's a matter of feeling compelled towards something, right? And that can be a primary motivator that gives them that kick in the ass that begins the momentum towards achieving something great for themselves. And so let me give an example here, because this is very powerful, and I think it's a bit, I'm going to say toxic. That I guess that word toxic can be a little cringy. It's overused and whatever. But like, I think it's a little toxic for people to say motivation is overrated. Fuck motivation. And motivation's not the same as inspiration. Or inspiration, is overrated. Fuck inspiration. And then you have these people, these hustle gurus, who are going out and preaching this idea that discipline is all that matters. Okay, and that if I just wait around to feel motivated or feel inspired to do something, then I'd be sitting on my ass eating potato chips and fat as fuck, and like, I'd be poor and I'd be homeless right now, or some crazy shit. And it's like, obviously there's some benefit to that and truth to that, right? But the truth is actually the truth is, if your life got to that point where you're just sitting on the couch eating potato chips and your health goes down the drain, and then you're literally you'll eventually hit rock bottom and be put out on the street, you would probably become motivated by the pain and suffering that lack of action brings you, and that laziness brings you, to change, so that you don't end up on the street, or so you don't die of diabetes or whatever, right? So anyway, that whole idea that these David Goggins people and Jocko Willink, and I love Jocko Willink, by the way. Jocko Willink is actually cool, right? But this whole that whole narrative, like, oh no, motivation's overrated, discipline's all you need, and if you just rely on motivation, eventually you're just going to go downhill and lose your job and all that shit. Most people, provided they're not smoking a bunch of weed and losing their ambition. I know people say weed doesn't just completely kill your ambition. It depends on the person, whatever. But the point is, eventually you would get motivated by the pain of loss. You would. So motivation is a natural thing that's there for a reason, and it will kick in eventually, if you know what I'm saying. So anyway, but where I was trying to go with that is that it's not so much that motivation is overrated, it's that a lot of people don't understand how to trigger themselves to become motivated and achieve their goals. And so obviously, you got to take action even when you don't feel like it a lot of times, right? But that doesn't mean that you should just completely forget motivation altogether. They should completely forget inspiration altogether. Because make no mistake, some of the greatest achievers in the world, they don't always feel like doing the actions that they need to do to be the best. However, they also have found what makes them tick, or what makes them motivated, or they've had coaches that find what triggers that fire inside of them. And this is key. And I've actually heard this a lot from higher achieving individuals that say, what? Fuck motivation? No. I thrive on motivation. The key is, though, I have to every single day bring that motivation out inside of myself, so that I am fired up to go and do what I need to do to fucking achieve my goals during the day, okay? Now, something else I'm going to say on this topic alone is that a lot of these success gurus I've noticed, right, like David Goggins and stuff like that, even people like Joe Rogan. And by the way, again, I love these people, and I'm not saying anything bad about them, but what I am saying is, a lot of these people that are like, oh, fuck motivation, it's all discipline, right? Freedom is discipline, or whatever. Discipline equals freedom. A lot of the people that actually tune into their information and find it beneficial are people who are already that kind of, stay hard, go hard or go home, suffering, on the other side of suffering is freedom, or whatever. Everything you want in life is on the other side of suffering, is what these people say, which is really not actually necessarily true, okay? But most of these people that buy into those philosophies are already motivated, are already disciplined, and they're motivated by that tough guy talk. Like it inspires them. That's the thing. This is a thing that I've realized is huge, is people think that David Goggins telling you, fuck motivation, it's all discipline. You just gotta take action and go for it. That what they're operating on, what they're fueled by is discipline. But no, they're actually triggered. Inspiration is triggered. They're inspired by David Goggins and his hard attitude and alpha male, in air quotes, right? Because the idea of an alpha male is a silly thing to attach yourself to and to label anyone as. But you should never strive for a label or strive for a personality paradigm or whatever, archetype. You should, but what people don't understand is it's the inspiration that David Goggins is giving them, right? He's transmuting or transmitting certain energy into you that can be described as inspiration. That's compelling you to action, okay? Because he's suddenly your superhero. He's suddenly your ideal, your hero. All of a sudden, that you are that you idolize, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that, okay? This is actually a very interesting epiphany at this point in time. It's something I've always known in the background, but it never really hit me until recently. There's a reason why human beings, like, have you noticed, like, a lot of times most people on this planet really don't care about what's true. Sure, we care about what's effective and what's going to get us to our results, at least what's good enough to get us to our results, right? But what we really care about is whatever mascot we follow, whatever team we're on, whatever dogma we follow, right? It's inspiring us, it's compelling us, it's something that we can get behind. We've bought into it. And it's the energy that compels us to action combined with what results we get to, right? And this is a hard thing to kind of conceptualize, right? But this explains why we have team vegan versus team paleo or carnivore or keto or whatever the new one is, right? Have you ever if you really think about how hard it is to argue with a vegan or a keto person or whatever, right? You assume that the other person's stupid. You're like, oh, they're stupid because what they believe in is wrong, and look at all these facts and whatever. But what you're not allowing yourself to be aware of is that you're both thinking the same thing about each other. You're both thinking other person is stupid because they believe in vegan or keto or whatever, and vegan or keto is completely wrong and it's unhealthy and all this science, and they're dogmatic and they're this and they're that. Fact of the matter is, though, you're both actually operating on the same motivating factors. You're like, I am keto, or I am carnivore, I am an animal-based eater or whatever. I eat the most nutritious diet in the world. I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. I have all these scientific studies and this and that. I have reversed these diseases and blah, blah, blah. And mind you, in my experience and my bias is that I was vegan for like 4 years, plant-based, whatever, and pure vegan. And I've had a lot of issues, and I've seen that in a lot of other people, and there is a lot of good science to back it. And you can survive on mostly meat for a whole lifetime, whereas you can't do that on beans or whatever else. But anyway, my point is, like, regardless of what's actually correct or scientifically correct, people are not actually motivated by the truth and the facts and this and that. The same thing goes with, like, political camps, right? People can't see, like, oh, they're both, it's a spectrum, there's pros and cons to both. People are mostly operating from whichever camp they buy into, whichever camp they're inspired by. And this is why I just am not a fan of politics, because it's an inspiration and a bunch of energy that you invest in that isn't really a beneficial conversation, outside of psychology, the psychology of each camp or whatever, right? It's all operating from the same thing. It's like, I'm really hyped on my hero, my mascot, my team, okay? So anyway, obviously, to a lot of people who are not, I guess, as adept at this level of thinking, might wonder, well, what the hell does politics have to do with all this? What does vegan versus carnivore have to do with this? It's because the same underlying things, like the same underlying mental construct, right, that dictates What president do you believe is the best? What diet do you believe is the best, right? Is the same construct that gets people to buy into a fitness routine, to follow a fitness routine, to follow a strength training routine, a nutrition routine, right? To believe whether squatting with full range of motion is good or bad, right? Well, I heard Joel Seedman said 90 degree isometrics are superior to acid grass squats, and acid grass squats are bad for the knees, right? Or you have these martial arts camps, right? People have been doing karate their whole life, and they've been indoctrinated by like these like karate experts that tell you you could like with karate, with your bare hand, you can grab through someone's chest cavity and pull their heart straight out of their chest. When you become a 10th degree black belt in karate and you learn the secret technique, right? This is something you hear in martial arts, and I was told this with different things, right? And you're real inspired by that, and you watch all the karate movies and stuff, right? And there's people who live their entire life believing in fairy tales because their heroes and the people they've idolized for years from their early childhood all told the same stories and believed in the same things, okay? And no matter what UFC or scientific karate book or expert or scientist tells you or whatever, you know, or no matter how many times they get into a fight and get knifed because they're trying to pull someone's heart out and use those fairy tale techniques, whatever. None of it matters because, like, none of it's going to change their mind because they're inspired by what it is they're doing. Okay, they're inspired by the experts that taught them what they believe in. And it's their whole reality is now shaped by it. Not because it's facts or whatever, or they came to that decision through critical thought. It's all because they, at some point in their life, allowed themselves to be open to that and allowed themselves to be compelled by it and allowed themselves to buy into it. And that's what catapulted them forward, okay? And so anyway, lots of different ways we can take this and discuss this, right? And I'm just going to say one more thing without going too deep on this. I've also come to the realization that a healthy relationship where there's mutual respect, okay, at least in a female-male dynamic to where it needs to be. And I know you can make the argument that there's never mutual respect or mutual attraction in a relationship. It's always one person is more attracted than the other or something like that. But I'm not going to go too deep in that. It's a little too politically charged topic. But what I will say is this whole concept of buy-in and inspiration, okay, and a healthy relationship that I've noticed in the people that I know have very good relationships where it's very predictable, the outcome. Let's just say that, okay? That transcends a lot of this red pill stuff and, you know, these people that make it sound like these relationships and getting a girlfriend and all this stuff is such rocket science and so hard and Western relationships are fucked and all this stupid nonsense. It's not like maybe it's true in some contexts, but it's not actually the key that's preventing you from getting healthy relationships. What actually matters is actually who, at least when it comes to, you know, let's just say men, right? Because I am a man, I can't speak for women. But what I've definitely found is, as a man, at least if you want a relationship where the female is not trying to step all over you and use you for your money and all this other stuff, you need to become a person who is a source of inspiration, a source of wisdom, where the female can buy into your journey. Does that make sense? Not in any way, shape, or form, any form of manipulation. It's actually the contrary, where you're so bought into your own life and you're so involved in your own path and you know what you want from a female, okay, and you're not willing to settle for anything less than your own standards, and you tell the girl, look, I'm not interested in a relationship with you if you are not, close, at least close to these standards I have for the person I want in my life. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to lead you on and waste my own time, wasting your time, making you think that there's potential when there's really not, right? You actually tell them straight up, I want a girl that's this and this and this, right? And because this is all the stuff I'm doing and I'm happy in my own life and I really don't need anyone to kind of throw me off my own journey, right? Anyway, and your journey itself, like let's just say hypothetically, you have a high-ranking kind of job or position at a certain company that you've been working on your entire life. You make more money than you need, and money isn't a thing for anyone. But you're obviously not, some sugar daddy or whatever, right? And don't even focus on that money thing, because people get way too freaking obsessed over, like money, like the girl just wants you for your money. And no, it's all the money that matters. As long as you believe that crap, you are never going to achieve much good shit. Like you're never going to have a healthy relationship. Anyway, and that's speaking from experience. But like most people only have experience of getting stepped on by women. And that's all they ever knew. So they're only going to assume that you have to get stepped on by women, or that women only want a guy they can step on, or just some stupid shit that's not real. Like women are real human beings. Anyway, the female will be inspired by that journey that you're on. The female will be inspired by that level of discipline, that level of self-respect, that level of dedication to your own journey. And that'll be a source of inspiration for her to do her best, okay? And this is a very hard thing for the pained and hurt person, to understand. Like a lot of these men who buy into the red pill and the black pill and the incels and the MGTOW and all this stuff, like they just always are getting their heart broken because they don't know how to have a healthy life and a healthy kind of just detachment to getting married and all this other crap that they think is actually what they should focus on when it's really not. Like, instead of focusing on creating this life of achievement and fulfillment and creating good things in your own life, right? Living a process of mastery, that you're cultivating yourself for the very fact that you want a good life for yourself. Not even financially, just as a whole, holistically, right? Instead of focusing on that, they'll get the married thing they really want. They're like focusing entirely on, I gotta find a girl I want and I get married and all this stuff. And then like any free time they have, instead of spending it on cultivating passions and careers and opportunities for themselves, they focus on dating and seduction, and they're in these Reddit groups and forums, reading books and watching hours of dating content. They don't have a life. And whatever life they do have, it's polluted with distractions of females and other things. And I'm not saying, and again, my whole point is that females are ultimately good, provided your relationship with yourself and your career and your success is good. Anyway, this is way off topic. But what I'm trying to say is the buy-in and the inspiration is what can drive a healthy relationship with a female as well. Because when you yourself is focused on self-cultivation and you're focused on becoming the best version of yourself, which is a kind of weird and flimsy term to say, best version of yourself, right? What the hell does that mean? But when you're focused on cultivating your own sense of achievement and self-fulfillment and stuff, and you're bought into yourself, and you're bought into what you're doing, right? Other people become inspired by that too, and so if you really think about all the people that have inspired you, at least I know when I think about it, I'm inspired by people that are really involved in their craft, right? And they really study the things that they're doing. And, They have a unique sense of achievement in these areas that is rare, that a lot of people don't have. And it's like they are a trendsetter in their field, and they're a leader that's unique in their own category, which is interesting. Anyway, and that inspires other people around them. And that's typically what you see as a leader. Okay. Right. Anyway, so yeah, people don't, a lot of people, like, so for the people who are not inspired by, or who are not motivated by, hey, I want to lose weight. What's the best way to lose weight? Or I want to gain muscle. What's the best way to gain muscle? Or I want to reverse that disease. What's the best way to gain muscle? If you're not inspired, or you're not motivated, or you're not cultivated to action by the outcome itself, you got to find your own personal superhero to kind of abide by, right? So, a lot of people, they watch videos of like Ronnie Coleman or videos of The Rock working out, and that inspires them to work out, right? Raw vegan people, right? They all have like someone they're inspired by in the field that makes them want to be raw vegan. Have you ever noticed that? The spiritual vegan people, they'll always be like, read the China Study. You ever read the China Study? Or they'll be like, what about that one vegan guru, John Rose? Or what about Doug Graham? Or what about Michael Greger? God forbid you're inspired to be like Michael Greger. Well, like the carnivore people, Sean Baker, bro, he's a beast. I want to be like him. All I eat is meat. Joe Rogan, he's a huge, like, everyone wants to be like Joe Rogan, doing Muay Thai, being a beast, all this stuff. It's not so much the information or the protocol or the method as much as who is the face of that method that gets people what they want. And actually, when you realize that, it kind of helps bring clarity to how you can navigate your own life. And also, if you're like me and your whole job revolves around getting other people to follow a protocol to reach results, there's going to be a lot of people that you're trying to help that just don't feel compelled to do it. And even though you've given them the protocol that is tested and works, a lot of people, if you can instill that thing like, hey, I'm a world record holder, or I am this, or I am that. You could be that too, right? You could be that too. You could be legit like me, or you could, get these results like me, or whatever. Finding what makes them tick and being that mascot, being their personal Ronnie Coleman, being their personal, whatever. Tila Tequila, some people want to be like, right? Or whatever. Like, I don't know if y'all are like a rapper. Like, everyone wants to be like whatever the new rapper is, Drake or whatever. I know it sounds crazy, but that's kind of like the truth, right? And I will say that I've had a lot of people ask me for consultations and coaching and stuff, right? And like, I've told a lot of people the facts or the truths about how to achieve certain goals or certain things. And oftentimes that works and they get their goals and stuff. But I've noticed a lot of people seek out my services because I've inspired them, because they like more so what I'm doing, who I'm being, rather than what I'm doing or being will get them where they want to go, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of people will just hire me more so for my inspiration towards life, right? And of course they come for specific advice and stuff like that. But I've kind of noticed a lot of times it has more to do with I'm operating on a certain frequency that they want to get on, a certain wavelength that they want to get on. And it's the energy I'm giving them more so than the protocols or information, or it's the inspiration I'm giving them more so than protocols and information. So one more thing I'm going to say that I wanted to kind of have in the beginning of the video, right? But it's interesting. So I have busted my ass trying, like oftentimes I'll think, oh, if I just include more scientific studies in my videos, if I give more scientific information and I speak with more scientific jargon, or I include study references on the videos. I've wasted or spent a lot of mental energy on the scientific validation and credentials and all these things. And I've been really anxious too. Like, if I don't back all my stuff up with like the best scientific evidence and all this stuff and prove to people that this is a scientifically accurate thing, and scientific accuracy is an illusion in of itself and all this stuff, then people won't follow me or whatever. Like, I've had this weird anxiety for years once I started to really understand science, that I have to teach people how to interpret science or else my videos are nothing. And man, those videos actually take a lot of energy out of me because I've always felt inherently that no one gives a shit anyway. And I'm like, and actually what's really frustrated me is like, this is important. Knowing about science and how to interpret science and the intricacies of it all and the nuances and the accuracy of science is the most important thing ever. But no one cares. And you should care. I know that sounds crazy. That's literally a lot of my the energy in me for a long time. And it's actually made me kind of stifled me. It stopped me. It's put me in like this, preventing me from making videos. I'm like, how the hell do I approach this? But what I've realized is, like, for one, I personally feel like basically what I want to teach people is that it's not, like, it's impossible to be scientifically accurate. And anyway, what I've come to realize now is it doesn't matter. That focusing more on inspiring people, or not even that, but like just getting my information out there in a way that makes people want to take action, that's more important. And that's what I like anyway, and that's the kind of content I prefer to do. And that's usually when my YouTube channel starts to be an upward spiral, it's when I am focused on that. But when I start to get in these little phases, like around the time COVID came out in 2020, right? If y'all remember, I put all my past videos on private because the information's not accurate anymore and all this stuff. And then I had all these people messaging me like, hey, what happened to all your videos? Put them back on public. And oh my God, I can't believe. And turns out way more people are watching my old videos than I thought, because I got so distracted by how factual or truthful or scientifically accurate it all was. And when it came down to it, people watch my videos because it's who I am, because I have unique information and a unique story and all this other stuff. And while I think a lot of those videos should have been put on private, what I thought mattered so much and what I was obsessing over didn't actually matter anywhere near as much as I thought it should have, right? Or would have, or could have. Anyway. So here's really one of the most interesting tangents too is and one more thing, people don't really care about the facts and all stuff. What people care about is how you make them feel, or how you make them feel about the facts that you're giving, how you make people feel about the information. Okay, that's why So anyway, that's why a lot of charlatans have giant YouTube followings, like Dr. Berg has over 5 million subscribers or whatever, right? But then a lot of the academics and people who do the research and all this other stuff, who also coach world champion athletes too a lot of times, right? Or have amazing success with disease reversal, they have like 10,000 subscribers, even that. No, like the people who have the facts and all this other stuff don't always get popular. Because the more you focus on facts, the less time you have to focus on marketing and inspiration and stuff. But I've noticed a lot of these academics are getting savvy now, and they're making more inspirational or humorous content and packing the good information and studies and science into it as well. Like Dr. Mike Israetel from Renaissance Periodization, because that guy is actually very smart about it. Anyway, what was I going to say? So I had placed a lot of emphasis. So I remember, like, there was a period of time in my YouTube career where people were telling me, hey, you should think about doing shorter YouTube videos, or you should think about getting a more higher quality camera or a better microphone, or you should think about getting better lighting for your YouTube, for your things, or getting better thumbnails for your YouTube videos, right? Or stop doing the long form content, right? Do the YouTube short 60-second content, all this other crap, whatever it might be, right? Or 10-minute videos, right? Now, first and foremost, I personally am a values first human, and I don't care how stupid it might sound, but if it's against my values to a high degree, mostly with the YouTube shorts, right? I'm mostly opposed to just doing 60-second content. I think it's just ruining people's attention span. Anyway, and I don't think it's beneficial to, even if you get more views and stuff, the less time people are allowing themselves to invest in your information, the less they're going to invest in your programs, in your coaching services or whatever, or even subscribing and interacting with your content. It doesn't really help people to appeal to the mass trends as much as you might think. Anyway, the thing is, I've had videos that get hundreds of thousand views and likes and shit, and I've gone viral with literally no tags, no description, no fancy thumbnail or anything. A lot of my best videos that have the most subscribers and clicks are videos where I just had a cell phone, walk around my apartment and just talk about my experience on a herb or a supplement or erectile dysfunction or something, right? And that really got me when I noticed a while ago I had a video on magnesium that had no tags, no nothing, and it was like a 20-minute video of me talking about magnesium and my experience with it. It had over 100,000 views, and it went viral in like 2 months. So, and I know this might just sound like it's an exception and not something to use as an example, but like, have you ever noticed how random videos will get recommended to you in the YouTube that literally make no sense, and they just get caught in the damn algorithm, right? So, anyway, I understand that optimizing your content is beneficial regardless, right? That you should try to make your, why can't you just spend an extra 5 minutes making a special custom thumbnail for your YouTube video? Why can't you invest a little bit of money, like $50 in a better camera, $50 in new lighting, whatever it might be, $120, $200 in the camera, whatever. Anyway, the thing is, what matters the most, like, have you noticed a lot of these podcasts, right? They might have expensive cameras and shit, but like they'll do black and white lighting, or like it's just two people just chatting back and forth. Do you really need a super high quality camera? As much as you might say, oh, trust me, it may not sound like it makes sense, but it matters a lot. I actually don't think so. And before all this competition, also, like, YouTube was doing just fine being like really shitty, kind of quality. I know these days it's different because it's more saturated, but I think it's more, it really is, who is this person? Okay? Who is this person? And the energy they're giving, right? And before it was like, oh, value. What value are you giving? But value is vague. I've actually kind of see it's a little bit deeper now. It's not even the scientific accuracy of value, it's the buy-in. It's the buy-in. And the thing is, I had with some situations in my life with some people buy in for the first month. But then because I didn't recognize what they're buying into, the energy, the motivation, the superhero you can be that helps them, gives them a model that they could aspire to become better by and change, that buy-in faded away slowly. And it's powerful when you recognize this, at least as someone who is trying to help other people get good, right? Or get better results or improve or whatever. And it's not, and you'll have these people who are like, yeah, man, just assume that you are the king or assume you're high value or fake it till you make it. It's none of that at all. It's entirely the energy that you have inside of yourself for what it is you're doing, for what it is you're trying to achieve, and what you see in other people. Okay, the image that you have in your own mind that you can see that other people can achieve too. This I think is where it's at. I can help you achieve this, right? This vision in my mind. I know what results I can get you, okay? And you have to get other people to see that vision for themselves. That's the key. All right? So a really good example is like, when I was younger, what got me to start lifting weights was I watched WrestleMania 20. One of the worst matches of all time, apparently, but I didn't know at the time. That's another thing. What people say isn't what matters. People will be like, "Oh, this music sucks," or this wrestling match sucks, or whatever. But in your mind, or this video game sucks. But in your mind, if it inspires you, or if you like it, that's what really matters. Too many people follow groupthink and only play video games that other people say are good or whatever. I'm the complete opposite, because that actually people are depressed that do that, right? Anyway, yeah. So this match that was claimed to be the worst match of all time, WrestleMania 20, it was Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg, the very first one. Interestingly, they had multiple matches 10 years later, once they passed their prime or whatever. I wouldn't say they passed their prime, actually. I'd say they're still in their prime, even though they're old, because they never were much more than what they are now. In fact, they probably got better recently. Controversial hot take, especially with Goldberg, injuring people, injuring himself. But he's a very badass motherfucker, full of inspiration. Anyway, WrestleMania 20, okay? Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. They were both leaving the company at the time, and they were booed out of the arena. But as a teenager, I was maybe 17, 18 years old, okay? My dad had just bought a raggedy old, rusty old weight set from, like, the garage sale or whatever. And he used to always just buy random shit at garage sales and bring it home. Our garage was full of shit we didn't need. They just go and buy. It's hilarious. Anyway, I was doing actually two of my best lifts these days, actually. The overhead press. Everyone always talks about my overhead press is like sick, right? 2008, 2009. I would stand there watching Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, and I was so inspired by these two mammoth of human beings lifting each other up and throwing them around. I was like, I want to be like that. And so I was grabbing the barbell, the rusty old barbell my dad bought from a garage sale. They bought for like $9. And I just be like picking up off the ground and overhead pressing it, pretending to be like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. Because I was like, I didn't know it was fake at the time. I thought I could actually pick someone up and suplex them in a jiu-jitsu match against their will. Which you can technically, just not the way they were doing it, right? Like military press someone in a jiu-jitsu match. Like, that's literally what I was thinking, right? That's what I was training to be, straight up, the first 2 years of weight training when I was younger. And I didn't have a program. I didn't know what was scientifically correct. I didn't care either. I just wanted to be a badass. So that's what I would do. I just throw things around and all this stuff. I'd go to the gym and just lift weights every day, full body. I was running like an hour a day, super high intensity every day, spending 5 hours in the gym, going in the pool and drinking Monster, eating tacos in the gym, eating candy bars, all that shit. And just doing full body machines every day. No program, no fear of overtraining, none of that. Now, did I get the best results? I don't even remember. I think I got pretty jacked at that time when I was younger. Would have gotten way better results if I would have eaten enough protein and that, but I was actually starving myself during that time. But the point is, and I remember I had there was a personal trainer that I had for a while too, and a couple of them, right? And they were trying to like get me to sign up for training. And they had tried telling me their program and protocol, but I do remember back then I didn't really care because I was just doing it for fun, and it was an inspiration thing. But I'll tell you, when I was there, I used to see the super jack dudes who were probably on steroids, a lot of them, doing dips and pull-ups and stuff. And I was like, man, I want to be like them. I was inspired by them, but I was too intimidated to talk to them at the time too. So it's just a fascinating thing when I start to think about all these things, right? And for me, a lot of things I'm mostly motivated by, inspiration and stuff too. But in regards to my own career path, I'm actually entirely motivated and fulfilled by helping other people achieve measurable, tangible goals and progress. The way that you get other people to make these changes is not by force. It is not by telling them what they need to do or what, or anything like that, or what the best way is, or science, or whatever. It's more, you have to dig deeper than that. And I've had friends who have coaching businesses of different kinds. I'm not going to get into specifics, right? But people who coach athletes, professional athletes, as well as regular people. And, the people who focus on, here is the method, whether you like it or not, it may not be fun, but it is effective, you've got to do it. They have success, but they only have success with people who are already motivated or who are wanting that end result so badly that they don't give a fuck what they have to go through to get it. But then you have this other group of people who are they want the end result, but they're not really compelled to do it, and they're in that kind of iffy, sure, maybe yes, maybe no, kind of dipping your toes in it and then running away if it gets too cold type of thing. And it's those people that you've got to focus more on inspiring and compelling and stuff, right? However, there's a lot of people who might kind of try to do something because they know they need it or whatever. And no matter what you do, you can't convince those people or motivate those people, right? And there's this idea that if you appeal to their desires or what you think their desires are or what they tell you their desires are, right? They're like, the methods that you're proposing to me are just too hard, or they're just not in alignment with my personality type or whatever, right? You could try to help them out by just appealing to their desires and be like, oh, okay, you want this other protocol, right? Like, oh, you're not into meat. Well, here's this vegan option and this and that, right? But a lot of times those people they're gonna run away anyway. They're gonna quit anyway, right? A lot of times, no matter, like, even if you change the way you do things, it doesn't work out. And I have experience with this. So I'm not going to go into detail, but there was a certain part of my career where I was working for a certain entity for about 2 years, where people had 12-month contracts and stuff, right? And I had tried everything. These people who were in a contract who were paying like $400 a month for my services. And I just remember, no matter how nice I was, no matter how motivating I might have been, no matter how, I would change things. Like, oh, I want more cardio and more functional stuff and this and that. And I'd give them that, and they'd be like, oh, I love it and all this other stuff. But they just fade off in the background over and over again. And then when you ask them, well, what happened or why? They're just like, oh, I don't know, just felt like eating chips and just felt like laying around or whatever it might have been. It's like, so anyway, point is, don't think by sacrificing your values and your core foundation that you're going to necessarily produce better results with some people. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to bend in that way, but being a source of motivation, being that person's own personal Ronnie Coleman or own personal The Rock or Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever, picture of great health, picture of enthusiasm, picture, source of inspiration that they can kind of aspire to be, And I'm not saying whatever. It's a source of inspiration, enthusiasm, and motivation to help keep them going or to help get them started. That's key, okay? a lot of times it's the inspiration, not the facts. So anyway, hopefully this made sense. You know, and yeah, there's a reason why someone like Elliot Hulse was able to catapult through the YouTube ladder without having like special fancy, you know, video thumbnails or high production, camera stuff, and even doing scripted YouTube content. And a lot of this stuff was just crazy and outrageous. It has more to do with who that person is as an individual, their uniqueness, their rarity, and how he compels other people. It's the compelling of other people that is a huge magical trait. Okay? So, all right. Leave your question and comments down below. I just realized I still have quite a bit of Tonic Herb coffee I need to finish. I'll talk to y'all next time.